Oh, and hate runs through my blood. While my tongue was in love, but my heart was left above. I've got believing now. I thought I'd never be shut down, but girl, I'm black and blue, so beaten down for you. Well, I'm beaten down in blue. Don't break away. I waste away. Don't break away. And lay me out across the grey hours I should have kept at bay. Well, I had no chance to get away. I can't escape my own escape, even more when it's sweet to the taste. Red stairs lead sense astray. I look up and seek for faith. Oh, but girl, just lean over and say, well, lay me down. Oh, pull me out. Will take my crown again. He's smudged and out. But wait, I'll make my last request. See, this could be the best. But blue, I need to rest. See, I've been broken down. So much has lost it now. I just stop and say, girl, oh, don't you worry about a thing, baby. You're my baby. She smote me whole and blows out O's. The sink is sunk, it overflows. The door is shut, my eyes are closed. I hear a moan, oh, what I suppose. The thing about her, I must let go. Why I sing about her, she'll never know. The book is shut, all bets are blown. A license bust, our shops are closed. I call my mom, she stumbles home through open grounds, back to broken homes. I thought about her smell through clothes, her spoken smoke mixed with my cologne. We were soup together, but now it's cold. We were glued together, but it wasn't to hold. That solvent dissolved. That solvent's dissolved. Solvent's dissolved. The ups and downs, deep velvet folds, the landslides in, depression pose. Once thought was shed, but always holds. Reflection taunts my empty soul. The sky will weep on my way home. The bus won't let me on, I'll have to stroll. And in my head, tormented pole, as lies were fed, he swallowed whole. The soup was grey, intense charcoal, he molded clay. At intervals, the lights would change, the same logo. I passed your house, it's a detective logo, it looks so cold. In dreams together, white noise arose, she draws me in and swallows whole. See if we can mix it correctly. The fade. Oh, it's hard to fade out. I'm running out of real estate with my mouse. Okay, I got it. Woohoo, there we go. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the 6 Pixels Under podcast. For those of you who know already, either because you've seen me do it, heard me do it, or just know that it's a thing that some people do. Sometimes whenever you do like a long stream or like a voiceover or something in which you need to get your voice prepared for, like a speech, or I mean, those are, I would probably say like a stream and a voiceover is like the best examples for me, but like just also the best examples kind of in general, because for a voiceover you really want to perform, and although a stream is more personal, you still don't want your voice to sound too terrible. And since I've been sick, for example, I already have to combat that. But I enjoy singing just period, but I enjoy singing actually specifically as a warm-up. So a vocal warm-up. It's actually, I play a couple of different ranges of songs. If you notice, I only played one range, but that's because I'm literally sick, and unfortunately he doesn't have any karaoke versions besides the first one that I played. So but that's King Cruel. Went to the same British university that a lot of other talented artists have gone to. I believe it's like a free to enroll music school where you basically just have to perform. But anyway, he's really talented, super baritone, super deep voice. But the more like modern hip jazzy style that I've heard, I guess, and I say modern like his music isn't terribly new, but like relatively speaking. So if you guys ever hear new age jazz, send it my way. And when I say new age, I just mean like new. It doesn't have to be like modern jazz. It could be classical jazz, or because actually somebody said that they were gonna send me like. Sorry if you hear the squeaking in the background. That's my dog. I have to take care of her, so hopefully you guys don't hate me because of the squeaking. But anyway, she's going ham on it. But I just, cause like, so she's had 2 teddy bears, and this is her 3rd. Needless to say, whenever she gets the squeaker, she gets like super excited. Anyway, I didn't have a whole lot of things today that I wanted to cover, and I'm kind of getting away of doing the whole like episode number thing because I have a horrible memory as it is. So I'm just like I should just come up with like themes for whichever episode, but anyway, one of them is we'd like her more if you could see her. Fair enough. She creates a mess though whenever she plays, so well, I don't want to show y'all. She literally has like pieces of fluff everywhere, pieces of bones everywhere, pieces of her toys, pieces of her rope toy. Yeah. Uh, anyway, today I put in the title, what IP makes the best MMO? Not that that's like the main theme of this episode per se, but just that I was thinking about it recently, and it's always like a fun exercise to go through, but since there's been definitely a lull of kind of either new MMOs or kind of like MMOs created with like unique IPs. For example, like sci-fi is not nearly as common as it used to be. But anyway, just one trend. So I figured we could talk a bit about later what IP makes, in your opinion, really, since this is just an opinion-based thing, the best MMO and why. And then another thing that I wanted to do was I was just randomly watching like YouTube videos, and I was just like, you know what, like I want to see like what people are doing right now, and you know, in terms of like what are people playing and what's exciting and all that stuff. And you can see my hot sauce in the background. Oops. But and I came away with this experience of watching a bunch of new trailers where I was just like, you know what? I'm not really getting anything from this experience. And I get the whole video was like one of those hype videos. It was like the new MMOs that are coming out and da da da, and like I was like, get excited and da da, and like I wasn't feeling it, and maybe you guys will find that entertaining. So I figured let's do some YouTube video reaction content. So feel free to send me new trailers for new MMOs or a video that has a bunch of them in it. I was gonna just do some reactions to it, just because I have reasons for why I hate on MMO trailers specifically. Of course, like I hate on trailers in general. Like I don't watch most of them, especially for movies, because they have so many spoilers in them. But like for MMOs, like they're so oftentimes bad, and I think it shows like a lot. Is kind of why I care so much about reacting to it in a sense. Is that I think people are kind of losing the plot, if you will. Those are like two of the things that I wanted to go over. Another thing that I want to go over quickly, since it's just a bit of news but significant nonetheless, is news that NCSoft West was hit with layoffs. Apparently 20% of their staff was reduced, but it was supposedly 20% of the non-development positions, which could mean publishing, could mean R&D, could mean sales, you know, whatever it means exactly, we're not sure, but I think that's pretty telling in a sense, because there's been a lot of rumors about the upcoming NCSoft Throne, or what is it? Is it Throne and Liberty? Is it Throne and Legacy? Because I always get TL mixed with, I thought it used to be like Project Legacy, but then now it's actually called TL Throne and Liberty. Anyway, TL, as everyone knows it by, because I think it has actually gone a project name change or whatever the heck, because that's NCSoft is known, notoriously known, in fact, for having projects with code names to keep things internal. And so this game has been like hyped about, talked about for a while. And we can watch some videos and trailers on that a little bit later too, to go over that. But like that's been pretty much like the big hyped game to come out at the moment, because it's supposed to launch in like the first half of this year in the West, and launch in Korea, I believe, relatively soon. So we'll talk a bit about that. Some people are calling it like a Lineage 4 or a Lineage proper 3, you know, whichever you'd like to call it. It's up to you. So yeah, we'll watch some of that as well. And yeah, anything else you guys want to talk about? As always, any questions you have, feel free to at me. I don't mind. I'll be reading through both chats on Twitch and YouTube. So let's do that. It's hard to see where something like Star Wars Galaxies would do in a remake these days. I'd love to see it, but given the insane amount of delays to that KOTOR remake, I'd have serious doubts. You mean in terms of like it actually being completed? Yeah, I mean there's probably a pretty good chance it wouldn't be in a proper way that you can like trust, I guess. Sorry, I'm literally going to be picking up my giant water jug and pouring my water. This is how I pour my water at the moment. Ah, it's all over my computer. I'm just kidding. ASMR pouring. I'm just kidding. My streams are pretty much always Q&As. What IP makes the best MMO? Anarchy Online, next question. So you're just going with one that already existed? Unfortunately, besides Anarchy Online, it's not really known for a whole lot else. Throne of Liberty. Ah, okay. Throne and Liberty, formerly Project TL, aka Project The Lineage, formerly Lineage Eternal. It's a lot of lineages. Alex, I read through, like, you had like 4 posts, and on your 4th post, you were already complaining that I didn't answer you. Just if you're wondering if I'm going to answer you promptly, I'm not the person that will be answering you promptly. It's also incredibly entitled to be that way, so please don't. Just talk to other people or just wait like everyone else is doing. Anyway. Have I heard about Rumbleverse shutting down? Yes, somebody actually told me about that today. So that's one that I'll cover. So is Rumbleverse, and then what was the other one? There was another pretty big one. Gwent is a big one recently. Apex Mobile, Battlefield Legends, which is also the mobile one. She's crying into the mic because she wants me to throw. She wants me to throw her bear, or she wants me to chase her around with her bear. Those are her multiple games. You have 0 expectations for TNO? We need more MMOs set in a digital world. Games like Otherland and the Tron IP. I actually think that games like that would be pretty interesting, if a bit on the nose. You think any of the monster capturing franchises like Pokemon or Digimon? I kind of agree. I mean, not that that's like super controversial, but like I do feel like Digimon, one of my favorites, and Pokemon as well, just has like exploration built into it, and they have this beautiful system built into where it's not just people worrying about having to fight monsters in a zone that they'll forget about. It's people remembering monsters in different zones that they would actually want to potentially catch. The different, you know, battling, I guess, I don't want to say matrix, but like mechanics rather, that come from the game, like you having a fire Pokemon, catching a grass Pokemon, da 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 da. The whole wild aspects of rare Pokemons, maybe boss drops, like, or boss catches. You could have raid bosses, world bosses, maybe like, you know, certain catching. I'm not sure how those would work in terms of catching, like, but obviously in the smaller scale wouldn't be that hard to do. So I definitely think Pokemon, Digimon are great. There's a Korean Digimon MMO being worked on, so that's what someone told me. In fact, one of my friends is a massive Digimon fan who plays all the Digimon games, even the bad ones, and yeah, so I think that there is, because they definitely have, in one of their more recent games, they show off the whole element of how you can play between like the 2 different worlds. So if in a sense they're showing off that it's a virtual world, even if it's on the nose. I don't have much rain because I'm in Mexico City, but they've been getting a lot of rain and storming in Texas. How about Paul World? Pow World? Sorry, I'm not familiar with it. What happened to the Lord of the Rings MMO that Amazon Game Studios planned? It feels like that IP could use a refresh. So the issue there, as far as I understand it, is that basically the TV show obviously took a lot of resources, and Amazon would constantly deny that the two were really kind of like related together, which tells me that either it didn't have proper approval yet, or they basically came into a situation where Amazon had to make a decision. Can we make a new, unique, like MMO? Because even if it is an existing IP, they're going to have to make a new MMO that's exciting and risk kind of like messing our reputation up, especially after New World, or just basically trying to become more of like a Western publisher. I'm gonna go put my dog up real quick, guys, but becoming more of a Western publisher, you see what I'm saying? And just launching games like Lost Ark. And the point that I didn't finish earlier about TL is that the rumor, and the reason why NCSoft West is probably facing a lot, all those layoffs, is that the rumor is that they're not going to be the ones doing the game anymore. TL is going to be handled apparently by Amazon Game Studios, who's now kind of like specializing in doing that kind of stuff. 1 second, I'll be back. She's just too excitable right now because she just got toys and stuff. So, but yeah. So I think it's just one of those things where NC West has been kind of, sorry, but ever since they kind of existed, they've only ever been really known for porting titles. So after they had their success or merger or acquisition of ANET, NC West, of course, in many people's eyes, became essentially ArenaNet. But besides ArenaNet, if you think about it, there really isn't any other there's nothing else that NC West does, besides just publish games. So other people's games. So I kind of feel like it's not that surprising that things have gone this way when something that I've always been really passionate about is that Western MMOs are Western MMOs for a reason. Eastern MMOs are Eastern MMOs for a reason. And sometimes these games, sorry, I had my camera on. Sometimes these games have crossover in different markets, right? Like for different reasons, popular IPs, just very popular games. But oftentimes they don't. And the reason is just because MMOs are supposed to be worlds, but worlds that are constructed by people of only specific parts of the world, just literally. So essentially, when you're making a game for your market, there's a good chance it's not going to be for another person in another market, right? So you might say yes, but you can try to make it for everybody. In the end, that's impossible, which is why doing such is pretty foolish and has unfortunately hurt the industry in many ways. But there are some benefits to appealing to more people, but not to everybody. And so the cultural reasons will always keep the games relatively different from each other. And for example, people will talk about how Western MMOs were essentially the most successful, the most popular, they're the best, right? But they weren't really the first. and they haven't been the most innovative lately, especially. And they actually haven't been the most frequent either. So essentially, Western MMOs have been, I would say, underperforming for probably the past at least 10 years. Like, because 2014 is the last time we saw a major MMO launch in the West. So if you want to go to that, that's already 9 years. But go further back to 2012 or so, which is where I like to go, which is when a lot of these big MMOs that the West did launch started failing. I would probably say it's like 2013, 2014, right? When you start to see that real big drop in Western games. And since I'm already talking about it, I'll talk more about kind of like the cultural differences and why you see these like very strong differences between these games and markets. First off, it does matter where you play a game. Because where you play a game, just like where the developers designed a game, is going to be based on their cultural relevance, their history, their educations. So, for example, one common thing you'll see in Japanese online games is that they're not made to be massive. In fact, literally point out a single Japanese MMO that tries to be massive, that's trying to be big, that's trying to appeal to a bunch of players to do massive amounts of things together at the same time. And if your answer is Final Fantasy XIV, then you're just not paying attention enough. But like, the market doesn't do that, and it's because point to me where in the market that they are enjoying that stuff at. They're just not. And will that always be the case? I mean, probably not. I mean, even though Nintendo is the biggest company in Japan, will consoles always be so giant and popular there? Probably not. But the point is that is a cultural thing. So when you play games from Japan, there's a lot of really cool cultural aspects you can experience from that. For example, games like Persona feel like you're almost playing an MMO in a sense, right? Games like Dragon Quest, games like Final Fantasy, the offline versions like 12, right? Some of these you'll feel like you're almost playing an MMO. And it's because the Japanese developers are incredibly good at designing and creating worlds. Now, the distinction between Japanese and Korean is the world itself that they're creating isn't for social reasons, right? Not even hierarchical reasons, which people might try and debate, but literally look at Korean games and how much power grind and power cap there is in them versus like Japanese games. It's not even fucking close. Like, so Lineage is arguably one of the best examples of this, arguably one of the biggest MMOs ever, and most successful, so we can just use that as an example. But there's a strong difference in how that is represented in their culture into the games, right? So when you play a Korean game, you're typically playing a game that feels like it's very much about performing at the highest level, performing the abilities at the fastest way you can, getting the highest amount of damage that you can do in a certain encounter. Like, it feels like it's very much about maximizing the gear that you're wearing. You should be wearing everything, the best gear that you can. And if you've already ground to max level, then you could just do that again 3 more times. You get your triple prestige, which is what games like Lineage have, and more. So then of course you go into like the Western fantasies, and it's the West is weird because like we're such an amalgamation of different cultures. It's not simple to just say the West, just like of course not the East, but more so in the West in my opinion, especially video game wise, because these markets function so differently. And but in the West, like, we've typically had a lot more popular MMOs in the way of personal fantasy, right? Your ability to choose your own decisions and kind of make your own choices and really customize your character to another level. Like, that's typically like the level, and not just in a visual sense, though these days it is very much Korean in how the visual identity of MMOs have essentially become, which is based on cash shop microtransaction ecosystems, which is very much Eastern, but has been adopted into Western culture and Western MMOs quite readily. Now, the point that I'm trying to kind of get to here, as I started with, is that, as you can tell, there's these differences, right? Like, the Western players are probably going to want a lot more power gaming in the sense that they want to be able to beat something first, right? Like I've never seen another market care more about that than the Western market. And I've been one of those players myself, like a world first in a level da 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 race. Like you get what I'm saying. So Western design, I think, is very interested in power fantasy. Not that Eastern games aren't, but in power fantasy, you have a little bit of this different perspective in the sense that power fantasy, you have, I guess, what you would call in the Eastern context, power fantasy, you can be elevated by your status from what your money gets you, essentially, right? So meaning that like in Eastern MMOs, there's no downside, and it's not even like discouraged in many cases. And even they don't even write it out of the story, it's written into the story in many cases, which is just basically making it to where you can make your character more powerful, right? Through things that you buy. Now, one thing I do find pretty interesting, and I already saw like a negative comment slipped in there, is that anytime I talk about the differences in these culturally, people love to just shit on Eastern cultures. Now, I'm arguing probably most of you probably only care for racial reasons, right? Like, because otherwise, literally, why would you care? It's not that big of a deal. Wait, what did you? I love flexing day one X for no reason. Okay, well, me too, Des. But so there is a little bit of xenophobia that sadly exists because many people, especially in America, never even leave their own like state. So like, you're gonna unfortunately get a lot of very close like perspectives because of that. And so essentially that's already a thing that you're trying to fight against. But the reason why I always laugh at it, especially in the modern context, is I just went through talking about how Japan and primarily Korea, but Japan in the sense of Final Fantasy 14, but the East has essentially like a 10, 11 year, lead right now in the Western market. And the thing that somebody responds to in chat is talking about pay pigs in the Eastern market, loving to pay for microtransactions. It's like, where's your focus at, my guy? You're there just being like complaining about a cultural difference that you think you can just be superior about. Meanwhile, I'm telling you, they're making better games. They're making more of them. They're making more innovative ones. Like literally. That's not debated. Anybody want to pull up the last launched games and which regions they come from? AAA MMOs? How about AA? Anybody? That's what I'm saying, is it's like pretty thinly veiled stuff. It's like if you actually dig into the data that we're talking about here, which is not just differences between cultures, but literally like differences that have now essentially related in a one particular market excelling to extreme levels, to the point to where it's like the East is doing so well right now, they can launch 3-4-year-old games and still rake out in cash hundreds of millions of dollars. That feels like the the Western market's getting dominated to me. Think about that. Because when do you guys think ArcAge is gonna launch? Because think about it, ArcAge did not launch globally, contrary to popular belief. Will it launch globally? I heavily, heavily, heavily fucking doubt that it will. It is NC Soft. Oh, sorry, no, it's Kakao Games now. But is it being designed by the same team? Some of the same. So there might be some differences there, but you get what I'm trying to say. Is that the Eastern market doesn't even have to launch globally. They're basically raking in the success so much that they can launch 3-4-year-old games, and because the Western market's not even competing with them. And then to go further, the other issue is that Western games, when they do come out, like games like Magic Legends, are calling themselves MMO. Meanwhile, they have less players than a single instance does, or a single group, right? So then it's like, that doesn't really help matters either. So while Korea has had a pretty big history of doing that, to be fair. And I say Korea because Japan doesn't care about being massive, despite what everybody else says and talks to them about. Literally read from the horse's mouths. People like Yoshi P and Yuji Naka, who apparently is in a lot of trouble right now. But read their perspective on kind of creating a world and what it means to them from the Japanese perspective, it's actually fairly different than most people might think, and especially from the Korean perspective, which is just right there, right? But it's so different. And I can't help but feel like a lot of it is that the Korean style of game gets a lot of negative perspective because, unlike the Japanese style of game, there's a lot less buying of power in Japanese online games, not in offline or multiplayer games in general. Again, common misconception is that Koreans are the gamblers. Japanese invented the gambling. The Koreans just made it in their video games, you know, and China just propagated it all over their mobile market. But Japan innovated that shit, essentially. So the issue I have with Westerners complaining about Eastern MMOs is that, why are you not complaining about Western MMOs, period? They're not even coming out. Like, what legs do you have to stand on? That's like, you know, me, like, can I be down about some new games when they come out? Yes, but it's like, at least like Blue Protocol Online's trying to do something. Like, it's still not out, it's still facing issues, but at least it's trying, right? Like, has this really unique art style at a big, massive scale. It's like, what's the equivalent in the West? It's like there literally isn't any. So again, it's like, if there's a race, there's no question. Clip this shit. The East is destroying the West. It's not even fucking close. In fact, most embarrassingly, and I'll look right at the camera for this, the East copied the West and beat them with their own game. And they're still beating them with it. Yes, I know Dragonflight's doing pretty well right now, but like, Yoshi P straight up told people what he did. He told people what the formula was, did it, and he's still beating the West with it. Like, what? That's crazy to me to think about. With all the old pioneers in this space, going back to like 2004 and saying, hey, imagine you're getting beat by a game another market copied from your market, that all they're essentially doing is just adding story to it. It's like, and they're slaughtering you. It's like, like, it's an oversimplification, but you get the idea. The idea is that for that time, that would be like, what? You could just copy it? Like, how could nobody even thought of copying WoW and getting away with it successfully? They just all thought about copying WoW and hoping to get away with it successfully. But Yoshi P and, you know, the Eastern market largely, they found that we think we know how it works, and we think we know how to make it work for our game and our market, which ironically, as most people now have pointed out, Japanese markets are insular and are very much not multiplayer focused. But Final Fantasy XIV is actually a Western market primarily, as far as any data I've ever seen. Anyone feel free to data check me on that. But any data I've ever seen has shown that the Western market is actually at least 2 times bigger than the Eastern market. At least, last time I saw. So they found this beautiful formula by leaving their own market and designing a game for their own market, and decided to go to another market and dominate that market. And I don't know, I just feel like I'm an innovative and progressive kind of person. So like, when it comes to video games or technology, I want to see the best of the best. It's crazy to me that no other Western developer, at least that we know of in some big way, is talking about this or being like, wow, like, it's crazy, we're getting slaughtered right now. It's like, no one's even talking about the race anymore. We used to talk about that stuff all the time. Who's got the most innovative games? Who's making the best games, the best looking? There's no question anymore. We know who's making the best looking games. We know who's making the most active combat system games. We know who's making the more story focused games. Like, the East is. Like, they're the ones doing it. So it's like, again, this could just be a matter of just the West isn't putting out enough. But that also just proves my point. They're not putting out anything. So they're getting beat by just a mission. Cool. I'm glad to hear about that, Wes Thompson. And I'm glad that I can inspire you to want to do some deep diving or research of your own. Now that EA doesn't have exclusivity with Star Wars, do you think that there could be a possibility of another Star Wars MMO with the Galaxies type feel? Um, the reason why it was pretty special what Galaxies was that RAF essentially made it kind of like away from a large amount of like the influence of kind of the other space at the time, especially like before the space even became a thing, before there was a space. So it was very much made in a vacuum, right? In many ways. And then also, besides, of course, RAF's like immense history of working in online virtual worlds and so on and so forth. But I just mean relative for the time. Other aspects were that essentially they didn't have much time or money. So ironically, they had to make the game a lot more open-ended like D&D because they lacked the ability to make constructed campaigns. So that actually ended up helping them. Raph has talked about that before. Essentially, what they did was kind of in many ways on accident. He always said that the original idea, he told me this actually directly, um, that the original idea for an MMO wasn't supposed to be theme park or sandbox. It was supposed to always be both. Even MUDs had both. The problem is that oftentimes you can only get one if you're just going to specialize or if you're just making an incomplete game. So, for example, if you just make a sandbox world, sorry, I'm like out of breath because I'm at terrible elevation here in Mexico City and also still sick. But the differences are in a sandbox world, there's not as much constructed content. The issue there is that, like in a game like Galaxies, people always talk about that. There wasn't storylines and there was barely any missions, and it's like they're happy about it. It's like, no, no, you don't understand. That's bad. Even Raph thought that that was bad. Like, just because you liked it and it worked does not mean it was good or the ideal way to do it. There's a reason that Galaxies later on started adding a lot more contained story experiences. It's because it's fucking Star Wars. Like, of course, there should be story experiences within the game, not just the ones you complete. So, there's some downsides to a game like Galaxies because of that over specialization. Just like games that overly specialize in being theme parks, like the one that I'm covering right now, Champions Online, it's been around for like 11, 12 years, but yet nobody knows it's still around. Why is that? Because the game felt like it died after like 1 or 2 years, and the game felt like it ran out of content after like 4 months. So it's like, because the game had almost no sandbox elements, that's why it's not remembered. You know, the old quote, like, that's why your name will not be remembered or whatever. Like, you need to have both. Otherwise, you just end up being this contained theme park experience that's played and forgotten or moved on from, right? Or you end up being the sandbox experience where people feel like they don't know what the fuck to do anyway. It's like, what are we even supposed to be doing? Have I dove into Dragonflight yet? So actually, I'm kind of curious of trying it. I accidentally restarted my 3 month subscription in WoW because I was supposed to be playing Wrath, and then I just ended up moving, and that took precedent over everything else. So I ended up not even playing Wrath almost at all. Um, but I was thinking of trying out Dragonflight because I already had my sub. I was like, should I try it? I've been trying to think about an MMO to play. As I've said before, I hate when I'm not playing one, even if I'm not playing one casually. So I've honestly been very much tempted to try RuneScape Iron Man with a few people from the Discord. That's one that I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about survival games too. I haven't played them in a while, and I love playing survival games. I just get bored of them pretty quickly. And then, you know, whatever other classic MMO example, more likely classic, because the newer ones, the few that there is, don't really offer a lot of opportunities to play as a group, and that's what I want to be able to play as a community. Nothing will match AOL's Neverwinter Nights. And there's as much good MMOs as your caloric intake. Yoshi P took WoW and made it better, essentially. I also think that WoW made the issue of after Final Fantasy XIV burst onto the scene, instead of kind of trying to specialize in the things that made them unique and great, they, and anyone, any WoW fan can back me up on this, like they started copying off of things that they did. And I think that that actually put them in bad spots, because I've talked about this before with Card many years ago, that what it did is it made people start to actually one-to-one compare them more and realize that Final Fantasy XIV was better at things. You see what I'm saying? It actually created this problematic scenario where it was like people were actually realized, wait a minute, they actually are better at a few things. And then, as Yoshi P has on record stated, he just leaned into those things. He was just like, you know what, like, we know we're good at these things, we're fucking Final Fantasy, so instead of just being like, we're gonna try to make this unique sandbox game that I want to make, by the way, real quote from him, which I would love to see him make a game like that, because he cites his favorite games as being Ultima and Eve, and he made Final Fantasy XIV. Imagine the kind of game this guy could make if he made both of those together. Like, that's like, anyway, don't get me started on that, but he's gonna be held hostage, and I don't know if he'll ever make another game. And I'm being serious. Like, you guys are like, what do you mean held hostage? Like, relax, guys. I was just talking to Indigo Gaming about this. I think that Yoshi P is being held hostage. I'll tell you why. Look at all these failures that Final Fantasy has a franchise, but Square Enix has suffered from. They sold off some of their biggest IPs. They got into the NFT market. Anyway, and they put out Babylon Fall. They put out Balan Wonderworld. They put out Marvel Avengers. They put out Final Fantasy XIV: The First Soldier. There's more examples people can cite right now. In fact, I think they just announced another game was going to get shut down as well. So like, Square Enix hasn't been doing that well. Besides Final Fantasy XIV, that's kind of like their golden goose, which made me start thinking that, you know what, like, Final Fantasy is actually the type of brand and company that I respect, in the sense that they'll make more games and try to make new ones. I'm not saying that that's necessarily always a good thing, because they may make a lot of mistakes for some reason and just don't seem to have the best quality control. But like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, they'll keep trying to make new games and keep trying to innovate. Something that WoW for some reason didn't do, and blew like a 20-year lead that they had on the industry, almost a 20-year lead. Now, yes, they've had some success with Dragonflight, but imagine a sequel. Imagine what WoW could have been doing right now with, had they not just played their lead and played it safe. Which is exactly what they did, which I think is going to bite them in the ass. And Blizzard is probably realizing that now, as they're trying to kind of like rehire and create another MMO in like some weird wake. Again, rumors, but that's what it's seeming like at the moment. Is it just me, or is it the audio slightly delayed from the video? It might be because I'm further away from the mic than I normally am, but it's because I don't really have my full setup yet. In fact, I just ordered a sound foam, a diffuser, and a stand, so I'm gonna actually be able to like properly speak to you guys without having all this echo and other shit. Yeah, so to go into Necro's comment, thank you for the 2 USD. Sorry, it's because it tells you the format of the dollar or currency. And so I'm like, the 2 USD, the $2, okay. Maybe a money sign there would have been helpful. But anyway, Necro says, Disney will never let a galaxy like exist, I feel. And to further expound on that, that's actually oddly related to the video that I'm doing right now, which is Champions Online, which was supposed to be a Marvel online project. The reason why there's a lot of truth to that in making a sandbox game is that basically you have to open up to the player base doing their own things. And there's a lot of risk in that, because essentially players could just draw penises. Players could just say the N-word. Players could just be dicks. Right? Like, so some IPs, especially very protective ones, are incredibly protected to the point to where they don't want you to mess with their IP. So they're not going to let you touch their IP if you're allowing that kind of stuff in their game. So that's why typically these games can be incredibly kind of theme park and very on rails experiences. It's actually why I like games like Lego, the Lego spin on all of these different universes, Harry Potter, Star Wars, because like they're linear, but they're linear and fun and goofy instead of being too serious. Appreciate the €5, Reinhardt von Lonhengram. Get well soon. Thank you so much. I will. I'm trying to drink as much. As you guys can see, I've been like just completely downing this water, and that's what I'll keep doing. So sorry about that. I'll be doing that a lot, but I'm just trying to stay hydrated, and I'm also like so sick, so it's like I have to be like doubly hydrated. Yeah, no, if anyone's interested in trying Group Ironman, hit me up. But yeah, Dragonflight, I'm interested in trying that as well. Oh no, we forgot Forspoken. We forgot about Forspoken. I thought that Donkey did the best video on Forspoken. Did you guys see Donkey's video? He trolls. He shows he shows the scene of the girl talking to like the magic thing, and then he literally clicks off and goes, anyway, let's review a real game. But yeah, Donkey's one of my favorite creators, for sure. Yeah, no, sorry if I spoiled it too much, but he's a lot more known. He's a lot more no nonsense in covering certain things. But to be fair, he can be because he's just that popular, that successful, that he can just be like, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to cover this because I don't feel like it. Anyway, get your links in right now. In fact, I don't know if you guys can link. I might have to give you like permissions. Des, I need to give you moderator status because I don't even know if I have any moderators on. Let's see. Yeah, I made you a moderator, Des. On YouTube. Anyway, I was gonna do some react to some new trailers, some video reactions. Now, I'm not entirely sure what I want to do yet, but I was thinking of just going for like, maybe like see what they're gonna hype as like a new game coming out. Let's see. What do you guys think? Best MMOs to launch. Best MMOs yet to launch. Here we go. We got something here. All MMOs are finished. Throne and Liberty MMO launches soon. Well, I mean, Throne and Liberty is a good one to watch. Let's watch that. No, trailer. We're doing trailers right now. Okay, so this is 4 weeks old. Let's get into it. It's showing some group fighting there. I like that. Showing that it's a dungeon. Showing that it's multifaceted. I like that they're showing verticality here in these shots. The effects are nice. They're crisp. They're not too over the top. I'm gonna lower that music big time so you guys can hear me. Wow, they're showing off some flight, more vertical combat, more giant monster combat. I mean, this is an exciting trailer. I can see why this game has hype. Like, This is how trailers are supposed to be done. Like, let's even just watch it again. Looks like a character from fucking Chosen, a Chosen from Warhammer or some shit. So I feel like it starts off pretty like shit. Like I don't even understand what the point of that was, but like this right here feels like okay, like this is like the start to a Path of Exile patch note, or this is like, you know, like the start of like some MMO that's really supposed to be properly hyped, and you get the idea. Okay, that's a good one. Let's watch another one. So this one is an official trailer from 10 months ago that's a work in progress. So this one's going to be considerably older, probably look, less sexy is my guess. The frame rate, very nice. Obviously, they're showing off the visuals. This is NCSoft. They're incredibly good at making trailers, generally speaking. I mean, these are essentially like NCSoft is arguably the biggest MMO creator in the world. Like, I think people kind of forget that sometimes because, again, everyone feels like WoW's so big, but WoW is all that Blizzard does. NCSoft has literally like 20 MMOs. And that's not counting like other companies that they've owned, acquired, so on and so forth, defunct games. Like, I mean, this company has put out insane amounts of MMOs, even in the West market, right? Even games like WildStar, games like what was the other one that I had just covered with NCSoft? Terra was the big one with NCSoft too in the West. That was the global launch. Sorry, I use that as an example because it was a global launch specifically, which was very unique for the time. So I'm liking the trailer. I feel like Throne and Liberty is giving people real reasons to be hyped. The gameplay looks good. It's not over the top. They're showing in narrative elements with concept elements. They're not just isolating them in their own trailers, which is something like the West does constantly, and people just ignore those trailers. The effects look incredibly, high fidelity. They're impressive to say the least. They're showing that the game is action oriented, but still has tab target tendencies. I'll show you what I mean. Because right here, the character doesn't have his character camera focused, but he's still able to attack because the character is in the shot, which means it's not a first person game, right? Wow, these monsters look really impressive. Look awesome. Look super cool. I can't wait to sit there and group up with everyone and kill them. This game, these trailers are getting me excited, guys, and I'm like one of the most salty people when it comes to trailer. Like that's what I was hoping to do here. And trust me, we'll get through a couple trailers that I'll hate, but we started off with one of the best ones and one of the most hyped ones of the year. I mean, this was Lost Ark of last year, and then some, because Lost Ark was already out for a number of years. And Throne and Liberty is only supposed to be out in Korea for a couple of months, and then it's supposed to launch right away in the East, or rather the West. If that's true, that's a pretty massive thing. And look at this, we have some monster play here. And yes, do Korean developers like to show off kind of gimmicky things like that maybe only exist in a mini game or some type of PvP like battleground? Yes, but there's nothing wrong with that. Showing both what your core game is and the fun parts of it is what you should be doing. Wow, let's get some reactions on this. I'm sorry, I'm so used to my camera being up here. Let's get some reactions on this. On SMT, you start without a class. You have expertise system and 3 main styles to play: melee, guns, magic, and sub affinities. Oh wow, interesting. You got a limited amount of XP to grind using the skills while you use them, and then level that up expertise, you unlock skills, and if you level up certain expertise, you unlock and combine expertise. How about a Yu Yu Hakusho MMO? Okay, now you're just going after my heart, Josh. I love Yu Yu Hakusho. I love the art style, I love the visuals, I love the voiceovers in English and Japanese, I love the songs, Dun, 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 dun. In a faceless crowd, I wanna feel the touch of a friend. I don't know where to go. When I feel like crying, I have to open. Dun, 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 I wanna stop and grow up like you. The 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 random English thrown into Japanese songs or anime songs is the best. It's the best. This have any PvP? I mean, probably. You got to think NCSoft is actually known for having PvP in pretty much all of their games, and usually in significant aspects because the Eastern market is hugely into PvP, massively into PvP. So I would pretty much guarantee that they're going to have PvP in this game. I think that's what they were trying to show us right now with some type of castle siege. And that also facilitates itself to a long-term progression system with grinding anyway. Because as people become more powerful, then they can, do more powerful things as a group and PvP and, dominate and all that kind of stuff. And also somebody earlier dropping the N-word on me. Usually I only get that brain dead insult whenever I'm just playing video games and people can't see me because my voice is deep, but it's like when you can also see me, it's like you're definitely not. Okay, so it looks like we have some exclusive gameplay from 4 weeks ago. That looks like the most recent gameplay they have. Let's check it out. Is this just like various things from what we've already seen? Yeah, this is literally like the same thing we've seen. So it looks like that 1 minute of action gameplay is pretty much all they have so far. Yeah, like this guy literally says this is all we have for now. Character creation stuff. It's impressive. It certainly is impressive. Like, that can't be denied. Any other lookers I should look at? Yeah, Caleb, exactly. A classic insulter. But it's like, I'm all for banter, as most people here know about me. It probably too much because I get too into it with my commenters on my videos, and people that don't know me come away with this idea and expression that I'm just like an angry person all the time, or I'm just like in disguise because I'm not always perfectly rational and, or whatever the fuck that means. I just laugh about that because it's like it's stuff like that that I used to obsess over when I was a kid about being perfectly rational and da da da. And at the end of the day, it's like I'm still the same shit poster I was when I was 9 years old. So, am I professional? Am I more mature? Yes, but like when it comes to insults and people that don't have anything really good to say, I'm the same person. No, we can watch some old ones too, Rizzle. In fact, I'm totally fine with doing some old ones as contrast. But I wanted to look at some new ones and some old ones. I appreciate that, Brendan. Oh wow, so people are talking about Terrace Land. That's what somebody else said too. Let's check that one out. But yeah, Throne and Liberty, guys. NCSoft hasn't thrown me a bag yet for some reason. Nah, I'm just kidding, but they haven't thrown me any money yet. So I'm not even hyping or selling the game. But there's some serious hype there. And there's some real reasons to be hyped because NCSoft is going to treat that game like another Lineage game. And that means that they're going to pull out all the stops. So definitely keep an eye on Throne and Liberty. If you're into PvE focused games, if you're into crafting focused games, if you're even into PvP games, if you even just like games that look pretty, or just want to be a part of the new, craze, I really recommend to get involved in that one. If you skipped Lost Ark, don't skip Throne and Liberty, right? Like meaning, and if you tried Lost Ark, you better try Throne and Liberty. So is it Terrace Land? start, guys. Ah, this is Chinese. Wow. I was wondering when we were going to start to see more Chinese MMOs making their introductions into the market. So what I'm going to predict from this trailer is just insane graphical fidelity. But is it going to do what NCSoft did with Throne and Liberty and also show off mixed gameplay mixed with semi-cinematic gameplay footage? Because that kind of stuff is what sets NCSoft apart. They're always willing to show that kind of stuff off, and I feel like that gives them so much. I mean, that's kind of what they're trying to show here. They definitely have been doing their homework. I don't like those shots. Definitely feels like it's coming from a market that's not as familiar with the space there. And you might be saying, what's the issue with these shots? Let's go back here for a second. Look at them. These shots don't belong in an MMO. Look at how zoomed in they are. They're so zoomed in, you can't even fucking see the characters, and they don't even show them fast enough. And then whenever it shows this character, you basically can't see anything. If that's an MMO, it just makes me feel claustrophobic. So I feel like that's not a good perspective they want to show you. What you want to feel in an MMO is that it's always big. So you can zoom out, you can, wow, like the world's so big, even if it isn't, right? This gameplay footage gives me Crowfall vibes, and I say that in a not so good way. I'll say that this is probably their first trailer, and I can show you so many first trailers that suck, but I hope that this isn't done in the Crowfall engine. I'm just kidding, but no, I'm just kidding. But seriously, it looks like they're going for a style of. The reason why I make the Crowfall meme is because the Crowfall meme is the closest thing we have to a modern WoW-looking game. And I know you might be looking at me like, what are you talking about? I'm saying if WoW was more modern, it would still be stylized, but it would be the newer age, right, of graphical fidelity. I can see why there has been a lot of WoW comparisons to Terrasland, because it does look like WoW if WoW was in the next generation, right? I like the variety of monsters it's showing. The only issue I have with character models looking too realistic is that then their animations become harder to kind of mask as actually fitting in a video game. Something that WoW does really well. So people think that Terrace Lane is supposed to be a WoW clone. Did I call it Terrace Fall and Terrace Lane? Terrace Fall. I think it looks a little rigid, but that could be, oh wait. Uh-oh. Sorry, you guys didn't see me. Six abilities doesn't give me much excitement, guys. I'll be honest. I'll be the first to say it. Look, there are a number of ways to make combat good in a MMO. It can be about how fast you have to press buttons. It can be about the combination of the buttons that you press. And again, all the things could also exhibit multiple things of this, but I'm talking about for main focuses for combat styles. They could be incredibly like in-depth strategically, right? The issue I have with games like this is that it looks like it's essentially going to be a game that is not just reliant on you playing with your other teammates, but reliant on you playing with your other teammates to even get the full experience from the game. And you might be saying, what's the difference between that and WoW? In WoW, you actually have a lot more buttons to push. You have a lot more agency. You have a lot more things that you feel like you can mess up on. I feel like doing it more like this makes it more on performance. It makes it more on your ability to press buttons, your ability to be faster, your ability to react quicker. It feels and plays, when there's less buttons, more like a MOBA, a mobile online, a multiplayer online battle arena, right? And that's what this looks like and plays more like to me. This looks like if WoW became a MOBA. So I can see the WoW comparisons, but I think it's very important to understand that these aren't the same games. Has WoW's rotations become more like this? Yes, but they still don't have this many buttons. Has WoW gotten rid of a lot of their buttons? Yes, and a lot of their specifications and kind of like uniqueness in some cases? Yes, but not like this. So I definitely think that there's some stark differences there to look at. What's also possible is they're only level, I was looking at their levels, they're only level 18. So maybe this is like, they only have this amount of, ability so far. That could also be a thing to take into consideration. That's my thing, Rizzle, is that for people wondering why are you critical of games that have less buttons, well, we're talking about massive multiplayer online RPGs, which means that like the chances of them having better combat than other games that are known for their combat is pretty much just not going to happen. So then you're essentially saying, okay, well then what's the benefit of going action combat? There's some benefits to it, but what we found largely in the space, and again, feel free to just look at the games in the space that exist, is that the ones that succeed the most from it are the ones that borrow from both, right? They don't just go one way. Yes, that's a weird thing, awful. 6 buttons with a slow GCD seems pretty strange. The weird part though, Stratos, is this is what we talked about on the last episode, is on Monday, was that we're seeing that happen, and yet the depth isn't increasing in any level. So essentially, like, we're seeing MMOs come out with old combat systems that lack the complexity of those combat systems while not adding anything to make up for it. So essentially, you're getting just worse combat systems. There's no other way around it. Like, you're just getting a worse combat system. You know, and I think that combat systems largely have been something that we've kind of just excused. But I think it's actually pretty fair to say in 2023 that people don't excuse it as much anymore. Maybe in 2D games or in specific types of games with other qualifications, like there has to be a lot of other things to do. But yeah, generally speaking, people prefer to have better gameplay than better graphics in an MMO. Maybe not to sell initially, maybe to not make the initial money, but for longevity, absolutely. It's been proven time and time again. Oh, Rizal, I thought, well, so my point there was more so about how sometimes that's the issue of a game being more so supposed to be, for example, not action oriented. And so when it tries to look action oriented, you can notice those flaws. That's kind of what I thought you were referencing, kind of what I talked about with like how animations become more rigid as the character models become more serious looking because they have to be much better essentially. So anyway, I took what you were saying, but I get what you're saying. All right, let's look at some other trailers, huh? Maybe some new ones. Anybody else have any new ones to suggest? Throne and Liberty was very impressive. Probably the most impressive I've seen so far. And usually, you know, guys, I always have something to drop. Like, I'll tell y'all, I played it, or that I haven't touched this game. I haven't even seen it in my circles yet. So, like, I think it's having a test in Korea on the 21st to the 20th. Yeah, the 21st to the 23rd. God, you guys are gonna think I'm a massive nerd for knowing that off the top of my head, but because I definitely didn't research it. But it's like a really short test, and then after that, they're supposed to have a launch in Korea. I might actually try to get into that test. I've done that with Terra before, and there's just a lot of benefit of getting into these things early. I can give you guys information. I can also get information for myself, of course. All right. I don't really feel like voiceover. Maybe they'll just have helpful graphics that will tell me what class is what class. Nope. Quinfall. Okay, cool. That's one that I've heard people talk about a lot. Excuse me. The walking animation is horrible. It's funny whenever like I watch trailers that show walking animations, but it's like the walking animation isn't even good. Like the reason why I hate this walking animation is he's like heel striking, like heel to heel, like he's walking in heels. Like you notice that? Like watch that right there. He looks like he's walking like he's in heels. Which, you know, I'm not judging if he wants to wear heels, but that didn't look like he was wearing heels to me. Uh-oh. I got some weird vibes about this combat system. It feels super floaty. Let's watch that again. The guy swung at him, but there was like no reaction. Yeah. The the animations of them getting hit, there's like no recoil, which is weird. Look at that. The monster just like lifts his head up, but he doesn't actually recoil. So it's like they took the time to animate that, but they didn't know how to animate something getting hit. This looks super locked in place. Like, I think Black Desert Online has a tendency to look like that. This looks even more locked in place. Like, your character looks like they weigh a lot, which tells me this is probably using Unreal Engine, right? I mean, these environments and everything, they don't really tell me anything. That spell looked kind of cool. I didn't mean to mute it, my bad. It was not fun to listen to, but I didn't want to mute it that much. Hey, they show that it has an arrow physics to it. That's, you know, kind of cool. I don't know about y'all though. Does this have the same experience on you that Throne and Liberty did? Just watch this shot. It doesn't. Everybody's standing still. This is something that, like, you see in so many MMOs, and the only reason why you pretty much ever see it is because performance issues. Nobody plays like that. Like, there's a couple people running forward and just like running forward, but nobody's actually doing anything. Nobody's playing the game like you would be playing the game, which is why these trailers look so bad a lot of the time. Right, that's how it's supposed to. This is either like a super high IQ joke, or they literally didn't know what else to put right here. Oh boy. Did anyone hear that? Because that one got me good. I don't even know if you guys heard what he said, but that almost made me just break. The local flora also corresponds to the biome. So meaning, like in any other context, right? Oh, you might. Wow, you guys haven't been getting my audio at all? That sucks. Well, I'm glad you said something, Des. Okay, what about now?
The local flora
Oh, it does
also corresponds to the biome.
He basically just says the local flora also corresponds to the biome. Which is literally what it's supposed to do, right? Like, I don't understand why they put that in there, but damn, sorry y'all didn't have audio this whole time. Y'all really missed out.
Cities
Which kind of makes me laugh because it makes me think, did you guys even have the instrumental
and even
volume?
Underground in a vast 2016.
Y'all just like heard me like sing a cappella. I mean, I get it. Like, they're showing that it looks good from far away, but like, what does that really?
Rain and snow interact with your character as well as objects. Plants and some animals may decline in number in certain climates. Some areas may be subjected to floods, and some may surface as a result of drafts. All of these are some of the elements that make up Quinfall's alive and dynamic world.
This is a pretty long one.
Those who find themselves in Quinfall will
It sounds like they gave a guy a bunch of lines to read with zero context. So I don't know how to pop the chat out. There might be a way to pop the chat out. Let me see.
Run by other players.
Hey, what the? How do I pop the chat out? Chat overlay? That's not, no, I don't think that's it. Can you not pop the chat out on restream? Weird. Well, whatever. It's not a big deal. I'm gonna play that trailer a little bit more. I'm gonna go back actually, where I was before. Restart it because I gotta go to my show.
Those who find themselves in Quinfall will not encounter a classic MMORPG experience. In Quinfall, you can visit shops and taverns run by other players, play board games or mini-games with others, and even make your own music.
What did I miss?
Keep in mind.
What the? So they introduced a card game into their MMO. They stole my idea.
Keep in mind that your character is part of a living, breathing world.
Well, if they did it right, then what's my complaint?
At certain points in time. To learn more about the world, listen carefully to NPCs.
Listen to what? Wait, was this guy paid on Fiverr, you guys think? I'm just fucking with you. Dude, this is a long fucking trailer. Is this just like a compilation?
And every area or dungeon you visit will broaden your knowledge, allowing you to uncover Quinfall's mysteries and hidden areas. You may need to find secret passages, solve puzzles, and decipher codes in order to discover some areas. Do not forget that there are various stories and adventures to be uncovered. Some of these puzzles will help you to solve the mystery of Quinfall.
The mystery of Quinfall. Oh yeah, I don't have my second monitor set up right now. That's why I keep looking at my chat.
In any way you want. There are over 100 details you can change in the face alone.
A folder named Sephiroth. Yeah, that's my Sephiroth porn stash.
Details like skin color, hair, eyes, and body shape, while tattoos and accessories allow further customization.
The Gwynfall.
This world offers you 11 different improvable professions.
Medieval
by the
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Middle Ages.
Hey.
You can hunt for treasures in secret areas, dungeons, open fields, and underwater.
Well, so far, all we're seeing is just visuals,
you can
right?
plant
Like,
seeds according to landforms
that the game
and climate,
world exists,
and
that it
harvest
looks
them for
like
farming.
pretty. We know
If you
that.
don't have enough time,
But that's kind
you
of all
can
we're
employ
seeing,
workers
or all
or
we've
real
seen so
players
far.
and take time off to discover Quinfall. All professions are related to one another. Cooking allows one to create meals and desserts that give special powers in different fields.
I don't really understand that name.
With chemistry,
Quinfall.
you can obtain formulas and create powerful potions that heal your character or your friends. You can fish in lakes, rivers, and seas for various species. Some animals in different biomes can be tamed for the production of
If
certain
you drag
materials.
the window
with the
up to
husbandry
top left
profession.
screen, you can automatically make
You
a
can
split
also
screen window.
extract different resources from trees, plants, and ores in various areas. This allows you to level up your profession level. Keep in mind that every item you gather is extremely vital for your survival and progress.
Yeah, but it's too big. Okay. Oh, cool. It actually allows you to change the size of it, too.
If you wish, you can choose to develop your hunting profession by hunting animals.
Excuse me. Thanks, Rizzle. Or Rizel, or I'm not sure. Whatever you prefer. Whatever you prefer is the one that I prefer. Because, you know, my friends usually like to be called by their names. Well, of course you can change the size of the windows, but I just meant regarding whenever you do the little, like, drag and drop shit. I didn't know that actually allows you to do. Because if you saw it there,
Caravan and merchant mounts can also be tamed and upgraded, which allows you to deliver goods faster and trade efficiently. Each mount
Who are the
provides
developers
different
for this, by the way?
advantages in different areas. In a 2016 square kilometre land, improving your riding mount will grant you much useful speed.
What did he say?
To obtain
Hold on.
in a 2016 square kilometre land, improving your riding mount.
That sounds like the
grant you much
size
useful
of
speed.
Just Cause,
To obtain new mounts,
which is pretty big.
you can tame wild animals, breed existing ones, or buy from stables. The story of Quinfall allows you to use items that originate from different ages or ancient times, and even travel in time.
Yeah, people have been talking about this one a lot, and I haven't heard or seen anything about it. But my goal today with you guys was to watch some trailers and...
You can establish your home in certain areas and decorate it with hundreds of
Horse.
objects.
That was bad context. It says, oh god, horse breeding, and then Hyperborean says, wait for the twist. Sorry. Maybe I'm the only other person that saw it.
Quinfall's seas are as lively as its lands. You can build a ship yourself or with your friends to sail out to sea where adventure is waiting for you. Sailing allows you to explore new islands and areas.
I'm in a MMO RPG.
And giant waves that come your way. Nature is not the only thing you must battle, as you can encounter pirates, other players,
Who the hell is
and
that?
even mystical sea monsters.
All right. Wonder if they have any public funding or seed rounds. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, people did talk about the we Sea of Thieves now thing before. Somebody mentioned that. Which is just so hard to do that at the same time you're launching the game these days. Let's see. What else do we have? Trailers that oh, there's Arcage. Arcage 2, y'all. Well, it's just a teaser. Looks like, well, some shit here. This game, y'all, I'm telling you, if it actually carries on the same spirit of the first game and is actually like Jake Song somewhat involved in it, I think it has a chance to be pretty damn impressive. Even if it doesn't innovate on where it previously was, but it just kind of fixes a few aspects and just tightens up the gameplay or makes the gameplay newer, I would say that this would still be a pretty successful title. My biggest concerns with ArcAge are going to be about monetization and how it affects the gameplay. Because even if you don't care about the monetization, it still affects the gameplay. And from looking at this, this is again, NCSoft is not handling this. I think it's Cacao and let's see. I want to make sure that NCSoft isn't involved. Interesting. So, let's see. Oh shit. Alright, good. Alright, y'all. I mean, that kind of... what I said earlier is kind of a bit of a mic drop. If anybody doesn't know the significance of this man, I'm just gonna let you stare at him in awe for a bit and just think about it. So Jake Song, for reference, worked on Nexus Winds of Change, or Winds of the Winter, or whatever it was called. Nexus Kingdoms of Wind, or whatever the heck it was called. Point being is that was the first online MMO that we really even know that came out from the East back in, like, I think the late 80s. And Jake Song worked on that project. Jake Song left that company and project and went and worked on, with NCSoft, Nexon, to create Nexon. And so Jake Song has had hands in creating both Nexon and NCSoft, literally. Feel free to look it up. And he was the big driving force behind ArcAge, Lineage. What's the game that came after Lineage? It's Lineage, and then what's the other one? Did he do Ion? Yes. Okay. So he has had his hands in Lineage, one of the most successful MMOs ever. He dabbled in Ion a bit and Lineage 2. Left the company, formed XL Games, which everybody knows because that's who made ArcAge. Then left. I'm assuming got hired by Cacao, or just works with them as a advisor or an independent developer. I'm not sure what his deal is there. It doesn't really specify right there. Yeah. So, needless to say, Jake Song, man, he's this is one of the most innovative developers we've seen in the space, period. And not just a guy who just like banked off of like the first thing he ever made or was ever involved in. No, he literally made a great game, or helped make a great game, made another great game. Then after about, 11 years, 12 years, said, let's make another one. So Lineage changed the space and still is raking in the cash and outperforming many brand new MMOs. ArcAge is still around in multiple iterations and was an incredibly successful MMO in its own right. And Jake Song has helped advise on many other projects. So needless to say, he kept making things. Unlike, like ZeroSyn says, unlike many of these other developers. And so that, I think, leads to him having a better, more positively received legacy than many other online developers. It's why whenever I say, like, I'm not saying, hey, Richard Garriott is working on this project. He has a bit of a negative history surrounding him now and track record. Whereas, like, when I say Jake Song's working on something, look at his track record. He's worked on like 3 things and they've all been massive successes. So it's like, needless to say, that's why I was so focused on would he be introduced into this project, and the answer is yeah. So wow, 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 like Gordon Ramsay would say. I mean, he did reinvent himself in many ways, Q, because if you think about it, his first game is Lineage,
네,
right?
아케이지2는 전
It's a
세계적으로
power
많은 사랑을
grinder,
받은
you know,
아케이지의
the de
후속작으로
facto Asian grinder
시밀리스
MMO.
오픈월드
Like,
액션
probably the best,
MMORPG입니다.
most impactful one ever.
PC와 콘솔에서
And
플레이할 수
arguably
있는
top 3 in realms of MMOs, period.
있습니다.
Then he went and made ArcAge, and ArcAge, even when people hate that game, they still love it. I'm one of those people. I alpha tested that game, you know, love it and I hate it.
몰입감 있는 스토리를 위해서
But cannot deny it's one of the most innovative games,
그리고 언리얼
without a
5를
doubt.
이용한
So as he's talking about here, he's saying that they're targeting AAA visuals with Unreal 5, which is pretty impressive. ArcAge is skipping Unreal 4, which for people wondering why they never just went to Unreal 5 sooner, or 4 sooner, it's because MMOs are not really supposed to be made on these big game engines anyway, like Unreal and Unity. They don't properly function there. So to make them work, you have to essentially do something that, you know, reverse engineers the game to an extent. So doing that is incredibly difficult to do, and so they typically will just keep using the same engines. And that's why even games like Air, Ascent, Infinite Realm still came out on Unreal 3. Now, them coming out the gate and saying, hey, this is Unreal 5 is a big deal. And it's really, you know, gonna mean a lot for the future status of Eastern MMOs to come out, because a lot of them are gonna start transitioning now because they don't have a choice. That's how competition works.
세계관은 공유를 하는데 아케이지 1과 똑같은 스토리가 진행되는 건 아니고요. 아케이지 1은 이제 큰 서사적인 이야기를 다루었다면은 이제 2에서는 이제 개인적인 모험, 개인적인 스토리에 중점을
Interesting. Wow. That means that they're trying to make it less about the story experiences that are crafted by the developers themselves, and want to make it more about what the players create as the story themselves. So in ArcAge's case, that's a good thing, because the gameplay is good. Yeah, no, like Zero Sense says, for most ArcAge players, they're going to argue that's a good thing, because although a lot of story players watching now, and I'm a story player, would say, but it doesn't have a story really, or like, you know, what the... Well, it's because the story is more so about what you're personally encountering, either through the storylines that you encounter in the game, the quests and such, or you just playing with other people. But that the gameplay itself is the story, is the gameplay. Or sorry, is the narrative.
원에서 이제 무역 컨텐츠가 있었는데 이게 많은 분들이 또 재밌어하고 많은
It was more so that it was just
시던 컨텐츠인데
like simplistic.
또 여러 가지 문제도 많이 있었습니다.
He says that everyone loved the trade systems, but they were problematic, and I said it's more that they were just simplistic.
팀 단위로 할 수 있는 무역, 또 많은 사람이 참가하는.
Why are Korean developers still the best at hyping, creating trailers, and making developer interviews for MMOs? Like, is this even debated anymore?
같은 컨텐츠가 이제 생활 컨텐츠.
Look at how incredibly thorough this is. Like, he's hitting everything, right? He's talking about the housing features, he's talking about the visual, he's talking about the gameplay, he's talking about the stories, he's talking about everything that he needs to talk about.
길드 단위로 이제 하우징.
Wow, they're saying that they're going to allow players to create their own towns, which is something that only ArcAge 1 dabbled in briefly.
아케이지를 사랑해 주신 전 세계 많은 유저 여러분들께 감사 인사드리고요.
And someone earlier asked if I wanted to go to Korea or if I was going to go. Trust me, I would love to go to Korea. If I had someone to take care of my dog at the moment, I would fly right now to Korea to go play ArcAge 2 or Throne in Liberty. Then again, I could probably get her ready for the flight. It's just that to fly with my dog, even though she's a service dog, I'd have to take like 7 million planes, because that's a long flight. Man, so that was really impressive stuff. I'm impressed by ArcAge 2. I'm impressed by Throne and Liberty. Quinfall, I'm not gonna lie, it just kind of seems like a bit of an acid MMO at this point. A lot of presentation, not a whole lot of, you know, to show for it. And then Terrace Land or Terrace Island, I'm not sure which Terra Island, I'm not sure what the name of that was, but does look like a Chinese WoW clone, but you know, with a couple pushes in the right direction, could be maybe a potential good game for some people to go through or go to, or for some people to bridge that gap between an MMO and an action like MOBA game, maybe. It's just that that's not for me. Like I'll say very clearly, I like when MOBAs are MOBAs, and I like when MMOs are MMOs. Now, can you learn from MOBA combat? Yes, but doing such by limiting your gameplay options to 5 buttons or whatever, to me, only serves one thing: launching on console, right? Like that's pretty much the only benefit of doing that, which I see as a personal not a benefit because I'm not going to play it on console. So of course, like as a PC player, from a PC perspective, I'm going to see that as a detriment. But the other downsides are it makes your game a lot more button reactive and situation specific, meaning that if the game is then based on timing and action and that kind of stuff, that's a different kind of game than a lot of MMOs are, and then what a lot of players are kind of interested in at the same time. No problem, Q. Appreciate it. Yeah, that makes sense, Van. I still think his next game should be called Plane Lineage. Line Arc Plane. I mean, you know, it's funny because like you guys might be saying, well, Throne and Liberty, isn't that the original lineage, and isn't that supposed to be another lineage game? Essentially, yeah, it is. But to be fair, like Jake Song hasn't been involved in lineage since like basically the creation of 2, and even then, he hasn't been involved since like 2000. So, so lineage these days is kind of, you know, become something else effectively. Whether that's good or bad, we'll see. But I think that that's so interesting to see that Jake went with another competitor than where he used to work and be with, and now finds himself in this very interesting position where he has the chance to beat his old company that he helped formed in competition because their games are going to have some similar elements, that's for damn sure. So I'm actually pretty eager to see how the competition goes in the East with games like TL and games like A2. Okay, I mean, do I have any other ones to look at? Let me see. There's ArcAge 2. I could have swore somebody else mentioned a trailer. I was watching this video and it showed like a bunch of trailers like in a row and like listed them and stuff. I mean, you might as well. If anybody else has any suggestions, get them in. At the moment, I'm just kind of gonna end the stream here pretty soon, actually, because I'm tired. But and I've been sick, as I've said. But I'm actually writing, and I'll be finishing Champions Online script today, so that's good news. All right, I'm going to games, and I'm looking up highest hyped. What the heck is this? What the hell is Fractured Veil? Has anyone ever heard of this? Everything is considered an MMO these days. That's all I know. It's just MMORPG like lists like everything on their site now, I guess. Oh, I see what you're talking about. World Eternal Online. Okay, so do we want to watch that video? Do they have a trailer to watch? That can be our last one. Worlds. What the fuck was that called again? So cheesy, I already forgot. World Eternal Online. Oh god, here we go. Let's get it. I'm so excited for World Eternal Online.
Has turned to dust and sifted through my fingers.
And now I have no choice. I must join the fight and hope we make it through.
Together we rise.
Yo, y'all didn't warn me about that. You almost killed me with that one.
Let not the darkness descend upon us.
I thought that was Frozen.
Change the time. We will fight until our blood will finally spill. Today is the day we die.
Alrighty. But that caught me off guard when she breaks into the song right here.
Together we rise.
Let not the darkness descend upon us.
Let not the darkness descend
Let us
upon
change
us.
the time. We will fight until our blood will finally spill. Today is the day we die.
Alrighty, well, on that note, but it was good to talk to everybody today. I know there were a couple technical difficulties like the desktop audio. Me, I'm a technical difficulty. Sorry. But I am recovering. I'm doing better. Hopefully I'll get better. Finishing Champions Online right now. And that's about it. Excited to work on the next videos. Excited to keep working on more content. And excited to see about these new MMOs to come out from the East. Arcade and Throne and Liberty. Terrace Fall or Terrace Land. And Terrace. We'll see about them. I have my thoughts on which one I think will be, or which ones I think will be maybe more, have a better chance of being successful. But at the same time, I'm going to try them all nonetheless. So I'll be able to let you guys know what I think. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to head out. Gonna get some food, definitely rest, and you're either with my NFT or you're my enemy. Alright guys, I will talk to y'all later. Have a good rest of your weekend, or have a good rest of your week. Have a good weekend.
And I will see you guys Monday. Peace.